All right, my man's got a brand new set of Buscemi kicks that he's debuted on Twitter, which is always big news from our kick guy. We were down at SEC Media Days, and we were telling you from Radio Row, a fresh pair of J's per day, not just for the trip, not just for Media Day, not just a fresh pair of J's for the week, per day, wearing a brand new pair, and got a brand new pair of Buscemi's. What can you tell me about these shoes, Cole?
They're the Buscemi Run 2s. Most comfortable running shoes I've ever worn. Obviously, look fantastic. Buscemi.com if you want to check them out.
Are these named after Steve Buscemi?
They're not.
Okay.
The owner of the company is John Buscemi, actually, but no relation. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it tradition for you on a new pair of kicks? Because I know that you're a total sneakerhead. Is it tradition for you to lick the bottoms when you bring them out of the box?
Is that what people do?
Well, he did it on Twitter.
When they look that good,
probably freaked a lot of people out, but not me. I get it.
Yeah, when they look as good as these do, I think you kind of have to sometimes.
Do you ever do anything else with those shoes? Cool.
I do not.
Okay, I'm just checking. Look, I'm not here to judge, man. We all have our own
I know
teams.
that you now get your check from the SEC Network, so you're around all 14 schools. But we have been loving and laughing at the Alabama fan base melting this week.
So
As an
much fun.
Auburn grad, is it still kind of funny for you to see them melt a little bit?
I mean, it's kind of funny to see any fan base completely melt down over things that they have no control over, in my opinion. But I think that most people in the league have seen that fan base gloat for so long that they would probably have some joy in seeing them suffer a little bit because there hasn't been much of that. You know, I tell people all the time when I go other places to do games, and they ask me, what's the difference in the SEC and what makes it so different? What makes it unique? And my response is always, we love to hate more than we love to love.
Yeah, I mean, that's the damn truth.
Well said.
That's kind of what we are. So
Well
I think,
said.
Whether it's Auburn, Alabama fans, Auburn, LSU, Alabama, LSU, whether it's, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, Florida, a lot of fans, I'm not even going to say most, but a lot of the fan bases, they get more pleasure out of seeing their rivals suffer than they do their team succeeding.
Yeah.
But then we'll all sit at the SEC championship game and chant SEC, which is the craziest thing that there is.
I never cheer for Alabama, though. I don't care. I don't care if it's SEC, national championship. I want them to have nothing but misery, but for the rest of their sad, incestuous lives.
And if there's a lesson to be taken from this Nick Saban era at Alabama, because let's keep in mind here, I grew up in Homewood, Alabama, which is a suburb of Birmingham, Alabama. I went to Auburn University, graduated, and played there. This Nick Saban era has taught me that mindset will only bring you more pain.
Mm-hmm. It will. I mean, 100%.
Cheering against someone is only going to make it hurt worse, T-Bob. And listen,
100%.
I'm counseling you on this because the pain has hit me so hard so many times that you got to find a way to let it go.
OL to OL therapy. Take it. Take it for free. Take it for free.
Because I feel great.
Center to center therapy.
I love it. I can't wait till Alabama gets held out of the playoffs and I get to continue to bathe in these salty Tide tears. I think it's fantastic.
Listen, there's this little thing that I'm gonna just sort of let you in. I'm gonna peel back the curtain here a little bit.
Okay.
There's this particle, there's this cell that floats around the world of college football, and the only way it can be described is Bama magic. Now they haven't had to rely on
don't go down this road.
Recently.
Don't go down this road. Oh my!
All I'm going to say to you, as someone who is well versed in the worlds of Warcraft and witchcraft and star space travel.
Okay, now you're talking my
you
language.
should know very well that there is that thing out there somewhere. So just be very careful how strongly you attempt to go against that and how confident you are that will not resurface, not even on the field.
Yeah.
But even in a situation where a team might not win their division and lose their last regular season game and find a way to go on and win a national championship. That's all I'm saying. I'm just giving you a fair warning here.
It ain't going to happen, bro. It ain't. The curse is over, okay? At a certain point, all reigns must come to an end. when you dabble in necromancy, you pay the price, and the emperor will pay the price. Cole, speaking of positive things, though, I got to say, Miss Cubes with the note by the radio and the 3.5 people who think you hung the moon, that was absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Miss Cubes.
Man, she's the best. She is. And the coolest part about it is she's not like a sunshine pumper like that every single day. But when she knows when I need it, and we all have certain times, certain days, certain things that happen that we just get frustrated, or enough is enough. And listen, I'll be the first one to admit that I have my moments of weakness where social media gets to me, and I should never let it. It should never bother me. I
get it, man.
But I'm a human being, and it happens. And sometimes it's really minute, small, tedious, dumb things, and it's just one of those things that sort of pushes you over the edge. But she knows exactly when I need a little pick me up, and that was one of the cooler things that she's done, especially throwing the hook on there, the 3.5. That kind of got me.
That was good.
Yeah, it was really nice of him. Go check out Cole's Trivia. You know what we're talking about. Just seems like maybe a rough day, and his wife had his back, which is always great. Now football, UGA Auburn this weekend. Cole, how do you see that thing playing out? Massive matchup here.
I think we're looking at an old school SEC Donnybrook. I think you're going to see two great defenses on the field. I think you're going to see two offenses that have been explosive at times, but consistently haven't really been able to find that. And I think that these two defenses are probably going to prevent them from being that in this particular game. Huge, huge, huge advantage for Auburn having been off last week, because my concern, this is one of those games you circled at the beginning of the season and you said, Auburn D-line, Georgia O-line, let's go. You know, this is a 15-round heavyweight title fight. I'm ready to see the bludgeoning go for 4 quarters. It's going to be fun to watch. And my concern after watching the LSU game, after watching the Florida game, because there were moments late in those games that the Auburn defense kind of started to look a little bit worn down.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, if that's happening now, what's going to happen late against Georgia and Alabama? And I think that was a big problem for that defense last year. So I think they should be rested. I think they should be about as healthy as they've been all year. And I think that I don't see this Georgia offensive line as good as they are pushing that group around. That is not going to happen. So then I think you look at Jake Fromm having to go out and win this football game for Georgia, and can he do it against a really good secondary? And if Kevin Steele has some of the options that he did, like he did against LSU, where he can get pressure with 3, 4, 5 up front and add numbers to the back end against a group of receivers that's not experienced and hasn't proven that they can separate each and every week, boy, that's a big advantage for Auburn. Where I struggle here is finding ways that Auburn's legitimately going to score a lot of points in this game. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's tough.
This Georgia defense has not allowed a rushing touchdown all season. They're top 5 in every major defensive statistical category. Tyler Clark's playing great ball up front. Jordan Davis is playing great ball up front. The secondary can cover. You put on that Florida film, that's a really good group of receivers. And, man, they're step for step with those guys everywhere they go on the field. And so with a passing scheme that's not overly complex, it has to be the running game for Auburn to open up some play action stuff and to open up some deep shots. And then I think, too, the two things that have to happen for Auburn to have some success and maybe win this game, quarterback runs have to be a big part of the plan, and they have to utilize Anthony Schwartz more than 3-4 times in this game. And I don't even mean just handing it to him, T-Bob.
Yeah.
I mean showing that he's a threat, making that defense respect him on the perimeter and his ability to potentially take it to the house, forcing the backside of that defense to play you straight up, both with the quarterback runs and with Schwartz in motion, or doing some things in the screen game. So if those two things happen, I think Gus Malzahn could give this Auburn offense a chance to be successful.
Cole, we got only like a minute left. We went a little over last segment. Do you have a read on this LSU Ole Miss game?
I have no reason to believe that LSU has a letdown. There are pieces of this Ole Miss team that have been really good this year. The interior of the defensive line has been good. Benito Jones is having a good year. Josiah Coatney, Austrian Robinson are having good years. Those guys could be a little bit problematic up front, but with the way that Joe is eluding pressure and getting the ball out, I don't think it's going to be a consistent problem. And it's a young secondary. They're starting a freshman corner and a freshman safety, so I would anticipate the passing game to continue to go you always have to be concerned when you have a guy as dynamic as John Rice Plumlee. And then you throw in Snoop Connor and Jerrion Ely and Mingo on the outside. They have legit weapons. Now, the offensive line has not played great, and they're not super talented, and I think that'll be a problem. But if for some reason the LSU defenders get lost on the perimeter out in the alleys, then you could see this Ole Miss offense get some things going. It's similar to the Auburn defense. They're not going to go at the middle of this defense. They're just not. I mean, Rich Rodriguez is not going to try to run the ball 25 times between the tackles in this game. They're not moving Shelvin around. They're not moving Apalika and Rashard Lawrence around. He knows that. They can't do that. So they'll give you a lot of window dressing. They'll give you a lot of option stuff. They'll give you some counters and misdirections. And if you don't stay home and you don't fit the run the way that you're supposed to and coach to, well, then they'll bust off some runs. And I tell you guys, maybe the most surprising, maybe more surprising to me than the success that Joe Burrow has had, because I caught some hell this week on my show in Birmingham when I said I didn't think Joe Burrow had improved that much this year. People didn't like that very much. They lost their minds. And I can explain it later. I think Joe Burrow was just as talented last year.
Yeah, he just
opportunities
yes.
this year. So it's
I
not
agree.
that he's like a totally different dude. It's just he's allowed to do different things now and given different opportunities. But maybe the most surprising thing to me in the SEC is the lack of appreciation that Ole Miss has for John Rice Plumlee. They don't think he's a good quarterback. They don't think he can throw the ball. They don't think he's going to be successful, and I don't get it. I don't know how you don't appreciate a guy that's helping you win football games, that's moving the ball, that's putting the ball in the end zone, that's putting up yards, that's one of, I think, 3 players in the SEC averaging over 100 yards rushing a game. He's dynamic, man. I think he's going to be an SEC quarterback that wins a lot of football games, and anytime you have somebody like that on the field, you have to make sure you're playing sound defense and fitting the run where you're supposed to.
Have a good call tomorrow in College Station, man. Thank you for the time every Friday.
Enjoy it, fellas.